All right, so a major victory for advocates of marriage equality for same-sex couples. A California federal judge has rejected a request to strike down the ruling of a judge who had overturned the state's ban on gay marriage in August. District Judge Vaughn Walker ruled Prop 8 unconstitutional, a move which would have cleared the way for same-sex marriages to resume in California. That is, until Prop 8 supporters appealed. They claimed Judge Walker, who is gay and in a long-term relationship, should have recused himself. But a federal judge disagreed, saying the sole fact that a federal judge shares the same circumstances or personal characteristics with other members of the general public, and that the judge could be affected by the outcome of a proceeding in the same way that other members of the general public would be affected, is not a basis for either recusal or disqualification. Chad Griffin is the co-founder and president of the board of directors at the American Foundation for Equal Rights. He helped bring the lawsuit to overturn Prop 8, and he joins me now. Chad, it's nice to see you this morning. Prop 8 sponsors have vowed to appeal this once again. But in the meantime, since Judge Walker's ruling stands, will same-sex marriage licenses be legally given to couples who file for it in the state of California?
I think we're months away, Thomas. We are months away from California realizing marriage equality. This motion that was filed by the anti-marriage forces in our case was simply a desperate, offensive, and bigoted attempt to distract from the fact that they lost the case in a resounding loss. A federal judge appointed first by Ronald Reagan, second by George Bush, had been on the bench for 20 years as the chief judge, ruled Proposition 8 unconstitutional in August, and we have been heard now at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And in a desperate move, almost a year and a half after the trial, our opposition came along with what I think will really prove to be a low point in the history of the struggle for civil rights in this country, with this insidious motion that Judge Ware defeated yesterday in his resounding opinion, saying that gay and lesbian judges will just be treated just as African American judges when it comes to civil rights cases, or female judges when it comes to gender discrimination cases.
Chad, I want to ask, just play devil's advocate here. Let's say the judge in this case was a heterosexual, ruled that Prop 8 should stand as is. Would you have attempted to use the same type of legal argument and appeal that as a married straight judge would show bias on this?
Well, you know, it's ironic, Thomas, because in the trial, the anti-marriage forces, our opponents in that trial, the case that they made were the actual individuals who would be harmed by Proposition 8 were straight couples, the institution of marriage and straight couples. So they made the case before a court of law that if we allow gay marriage to go forward in California, it will hurt the institution of marriage and therefore hurt straight couples. So in fact, they made the case that straight couples perhaps should not, in fact, if there's a straight judge, man or woman, he or she perhaps should have recused herself due to the fact that their own marriage could have been hindered if you were to believe the opponent's preposterous arguments in the courtroom.
Chad, it really is an amazing development for what we're seeing on the left coast, but here in New York, we're seeing major marriage equality fighting play out within the Senate here, where a same-sex marriage bill is gaining support in the GOP Senate. How significant do you think that a victory in New York would be?
Thomas, a victory in New York, followed by a victory in California. We already have 5 states in our nation's capital who allow gay marriage. We've seen Don't Ask, Don't Tell fall this year. We've seen the president refuse to defend DOMA. We are to a point where this dark wall of discrimination in this country is crumbling, and crumbling quite quickly. And if New York, the 3rd most populous state in this country, were to pass gay marriage, and in a bipartisan way, Democrats and Republicans coming together to end this discrimination in New York State, it would be tremendous, and I believe that California would follow quickly thereafter with this appeal on the Prop 8 case, and you would have 2 of the most populous states in the country, along with the nation's capital and other states, having marriage equality, and for the first time, individuals in those states would have the same rights as their neighbors, as their brothers, their sisters, their peers, and a young child growing up in New York or here in California would be able to realize the same hopes and dreams that their straight peers, colleagues, friends, and family members have. So it's no short of historic, and I do believe that we are at a true turning point on this issue.
Chad Griffin from the American Foundation for Equal Rights. Chad, great to see you this morning. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Thomas.